Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Long Islander podcast. We're going to live stream this as a reaction video because the news just broke a little while ago that Le'Veon Bell has announced that he is signing or intends to sign with the New York Jets. Now, Vin, being the resident Jets fan of this podcast, what are your feelings on this? How do you feel?
I think we finally have an offense. I mean, we still need a receiver because I don't think of Robbie Anderson as a one, but we have gotten the best skills player on our team since we had LaDainian Tomlinson, and that was at the end of his career.
Also agree.
I think this is basically the best Jets running back since Curtis Martin, which I know you probably don't know much about.
Oh, no, trust me, I know Curtis Martin. Don't you worry about that.
I forgot you and him are best friends.
Best friends.
But yeah, I mean, they got him at a relatively cheap price. I mean, it's the highest a running back is currently having as a deal. 4 years, $52.5 million, which is just a tad over Todd Gurley when I did a quick look at running back contracts. And I mean, I'm pretty pumped for it.
Okay, so just in case anyone who's watching or going to watch this doesn't know about the full deal, it's a 4-year deal with a max value of $61 million and $35 million guaranteed. Adam Schefter reported that. So, I mean, obviously, if there's a whole bunch of incentives in there, which he's probably going to hit. I mean, he's a great pass catching back. He's a great running back. The Jets, in my opinion, were planning for him being a Jet the entire time because they were shoring up their offensive line for him. And it's also going to help Darnold in the long run, giving him another weapon to use as I guess maybe as a crutch or a safety net.
Yeah, I mean,
if they need him.
I mean, they have a young head coach right now. When Adam Gase, he hasn't really done too much. I mean, he has had the Peyton Mannings of the world and Brock Osweiler, so he's had a bunch of different quarterbacks. He's gonna have a better offense than this team has had on the field in the past decade, maybe. I mean, maybe you could say the Jets with DeMarc Sanchez at the very beginning.
Yeah, definitely.
But the defense really carried those teams. But this is going to be one of the best Jets teams that they've had. And I really think that they're a wild card team this year right now with their additions.
I mean, free agency still isn't done, and I think they still have a good amount of money to spend. I mean, they went into free agency with the second most amount of cap space, only behind the Colts. And they were able to shore up Le'Veon Bell, who's a great offensive weapon for them, which is someone that they've needed. They're also able to get Anthony Barr for a quick 3 minutes and CJ Mosley. Yeah, and plus, I mean, like I said earlier, they made that trade with the Raiders for their offensive lineman, who's a good get. Paradise was supposed to sign with, was probably going to sign with them, but Carolina swept in and took him. So yeah, I mean, it's just the Jets are honestly looking like one of those teams that you see every year where a big offseason can really boost them. And you saw flashes of what Sam Darnold could be, but he just needs more weapons. And we haven't even had the draft yet. So they could get another wide receiver. They could get more offensive line help in the first round. They could get they are probably going to get another edge rusher, maybe Nick Bosa if he falls down that deep. If not, maybe Josh Allen from Kentucky. But I just think that there's only one way that the Jets can mess this up, and if that's a crap ton of injuries. But I think if they can stay healthy, they're definitely going to probably be a wild card team. Yeah, and they may compete in their division. Who knows? I'm not saying that they're going to beat the Patriots, but I think they're going to be competitive.
It's going to be that close yet.
I think that they could at least be competitive, though. I'm not saying like they're going to win the division. I'm saying that it's going to be closer than it has been.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read this. ESPN just put up an article about it, about the Le'Veon Bell signing,
Yeah, sure.
and they said sources told ESPN's Jeremy Fowler that the San Francisco 49ers had made a strong offer for Bell, but the Jets came over the top late to finalize the deal. Sources says Bell's affinity for a youth for the Jets and running back Curtis Martin helped. So I guess Curtis Martin was more than just the guy who's been the best player since Le'Veon Bell came in.
Yeah. Just piggybacking off of that about coming in with another strong offer. There were reports that after Anthony Barr had officially pulled out from the Jets, they took that money and increased Le'Veon Bell's offer to give him a little bit more incentive to sign there. I think everyone thought it was going to happen a lot earlier than it did, but I guess you released your new rap album, and that just means that you're going to tell everyone where you're going to sign.
Yeah, well, I mean, you make
I'll be
more
honest with
money. You make more money if you in New York for a record than you do if
sure.
you do it anywhere else. But I know that's not anywhere in his thought process in that. But I mean, there was reports basically all day saying there was a bunch of teams in play, which make a lot of sense. I mean, there's really 5 or 6 teams that he could have ended up on. And really with this, there was the whole thing that the Jets made their offer and they said, hey, our offers are off the table if you don't take it by our deadline. And I think Le'Veon realized, hey, I'm going to be the highest paid running back in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And this running back's a position that doesn't really get paid. So let me take the money that I want. I'm going to be on a young team. I get to be a leader. And it's going to be something that he has a great quarterback. So it's, I know you're not a big fan of him as much as I am. But
no, I don't have a problem with him. I mean, like I said, I think he's a great player. He's a great pass catching back, and he's a great runner, which you don't really get all that often. A dynamic player like that from the running back position, and that's why he thought he should get paid, because you can line him up as a wide receiver, and he'll run a great route and catch some balls, or he'll run it behind you, or he'll run it out of the backfield and still just kill defenders as they're coming towards him. Especially like when he waits and like jets and cuts in the hole like he normally does, or what he did in Pittsburgh. But I think the big thing was getting that offensive line, because I wasn't sure how he would translate not being behind a good offensive line like Pittsburgh had. But I mean, the Jets have done everything that they can, and they still are probably going to continue to address that as free agency is still going on, considering this is still technically legal tampering.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just looking at his Football Reference page right now, and something I didn't realize, he's only 27 going into this year. I thought he was older. No,
he's only 27, and you have to think he took an entire season off.
Yeah.
So maybe his body feels great because he didn't play last season. So maybe he's like fully recovered. I saw some pictures of him. He looked like he put on weight. So he's going to have to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, but he's only had.
I think it's a great signing.
Yeah, he's only had a little over 1,200 touches in his career, so he hasn't taken too much of a toll on his body, and I think he could be a great player in the Jets offense, and I think the system really is going to be a lot easier for Darnold, because now he has the experience of playing with lesser players than a Le'Veon Bell, and with that, now he gets a security blanket basically whenever he needs it, and that's gonna make him that much better, at least for the next couple of years.
Yeah. All right. So moving on from a team in New York that is on the rise, let's go to a team that is somehow declining even further. The Giants have traded their perennial talent at wide receiver, Odell Beckham Jr., to the Cleveland Browns today for Cleveland's first round pick, their third round pick, and Jabril Peppers. So Jabril Peppers can step in and take the spot filled by Landon Collins, who, as we all know, signed with the Washington Redskins in a massive contract. And Now, I guess this means that there is definitely going to be a rebuild happening with the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, they got the Browns first round pick, so I think one of those two first rounders are going to be a quarterback because
Yeah.
now they're really in a rebuilding mode. It feels like now they're finally accepting. Hey, we got a running back.
Mhm.
We have okay wide receivers in Shepard and they have Ingram at tight end, so they have okay players. They
Yeah.
have they got rid of a top three wide receiver, top three player pretty much in the NFL now,
Yeah.
and I think it took them a while, but Gettleman's finally realizing it's time to rebuild. Eli's on his last legs. Let him be a mentor, and I really like this deal for the Browns.
I mean, this is obviously a great deal for the Browns. Uh, so yeah, let's shift focus to the Browns for a second before we completely demolish the Giants and
Well,
Dave Gettleman.
wait. Before I mean, you can't really demolish the Giants on this. I mean, we just saw Antonio Brown go for a third and a fifth round pick.
I mean, trust me, I'm an Eagles fan, so I am the most ecstatic about this trade as anyone is. It's probably us and Cowboys fans finally see eye to eye on something for once. But I mean, if you're Dave Gettleman and you're talking this entire offseason as, quote, we didn't sign Odell to trade him, and you made that clear right before free agency or legal tampering started. And now, a day and a half into it, you ship him off to the Browns for not even a great return. That's the thing. Because this came out last night, if you remember, you and I were talking about it, that he was going to go to the Browns, but the Giants had 24 hours to shop the offer. So are you telling me that a first, a third, and Jabril Peppers is the best offer that they got? Because if so, what the hell happened?
Well, I mean, look at it from the other 30 teams in the NFL. You just saw Antonio Brown come off the board in a trade for a third round and a fifth round pick. Now, I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. is that much better than Antonio Brown. You're getting a safety that's on his rookie contract in Jabril Peppers. You're
Yeah.
getting a first round pick, which now they could get their quarterback and get another player if they want,
Mm-hmm.
or they could try to move up in the draft if they feel that's the way they have to go. And they get a pick for next year. I mean, I think they got a way better return than Pittsburgh got. But I mean, obviously the situation's a lot different.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pittsburgh was really limited with who they could trade with because
Yeah, I mean, they could have had a better deal
was
with the
fighting to
Bills.
retire.
Yeah, they could have had a better deal with the Bills for all we know when
Yeah, who
that
knows?
rumor came around.
Yeah. But I just think if you're a Giants fan, you have to be upset that because just looking at it, the first pick, yeah, that's as expected. But I don't think a third and a Jabril Peppers necessarily on top of the first would have been your best offer if they really shopped it. Then again, I'm not Dave Gettleman, and I wasn't in any of the rooms or on the phones talking with any teams. But I'm just thinking, like, from a football standpoint and how talented Odell is, and knowing that some teams that need the help, like, there's a very good chance that like they may have just taken this offer because they were like, you know what, let's just start a whole rebuild. And I just don't think that they really thought this through 100%. Because if you have a rookie quarterback coming in, you want to give him as many weapons as possible, even if he is going to sit, because he's going to take over the next year. So you at least want him to be on the same page as the receivers going into that season, because then that makes the transition that much easier. So now you're going into a season where you're paying Eli Manning, a 38-year-old quarterback, $23 million to go out there and be mediocre like he has been, throwing to people like Ingram, and Sterling Shepard, who's now your number one, and the only real offensive real weapon you have is Barkley. And he's limited with what he can do because, I mean, he's a good pass catcher, but he's not Le'Veon Bell in the backfield as far as pass catching. Is he more elusive? Yeah, but I mean, it's all just very confusing and very shocking that this came out.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna side with the Giants. I mean, obviously, I'm not a fan of them by my hat, but I mean, when they get competitive in the Giants, you think this year they're gonna suck because they're gonna try to get a quarterback, or at least Manning's gonna play and let the quarterback of the future sit and learn.
Mm-hmm.
How many more years until you think the Giants are competitive in at least a wild card spot? Because it might be after Odell's contract expired, and that might be their motivation for doing it. And I mean, your job as a general manager is make this team as good as you can for as long as you can. And I mean, maybe this deal hurts in the short term, but in the long term, this could be good for the Giants. I mean, they free up a lot of cap.
I mean, yeah, well, not really, because now they have a bunch of dead money on them. They're paying I believe they're paying $16 million of Odell's contract this year in dead money. So that only hurts them. So
yeah, but this year they don't really care. I mean, you could tell by the pieces they got rid of that they're not really looking into this year as anything but we're gonna be last in our division probably, and let's just get the best draft pick we can. Let's tank this season.
true, but I think the big thing that was just surprising to me is it's not the fact that Odell was traded. It's the fact that Gettleman himself has been saying, he said this last year too, that he believed that the roster he was putting together could win now. So then I guess he saw that, realized, hey, I was wrong. Obviously, we ended up with the 6th overall draft pick. And now I have to, and like you said, now you have to think long term. But I still think the option of keeping Odell long term, especially with a young quarterback, even if it does wait a year, even if they got their quarterback this year and then let him sit, having Odell there as a rookie quarterback and another year of Sterling Shepard, like learning from Odell or playing with Odell and getting more familiar with everything, along with Ingram and Barkley, I think that's a better situation to bring a rookie quarterback into instead of just throwing him into like hellfire. That's essentially what you're doing. That's what the Browns did for all those years. They brought in rookie quarterbacks thinking that they could be the savior and then never put pieces around him. But early in their career. So maybe it could change, and maybe Gettleman is going to draft really well the next couple of drafts, but I don't think it's at least 2 or 3 years for them to be able to recoup the pieces that they need to in order to at least stay somewhat competitive.
Yeah, and I mean, this is off of Warren Sharp, so I mean, he's a way better football mind than me and you ever probably wish we could be.
Yeah, obviously.
And he was also very critical of this trade too. He said, imagine passing up the opportunity to draft a stud quarterback 2nd overall to pair and grow with Odell instead of trading Odell to grow with Baker and on another team while you carry Eli, $21 million in dead cap for Odell over the next 2 years, and a running back at number 2. This is why the New York Football Giants stink.
I mean, so essentially what I'm saying is you're letting Odell go through his prime with another team and not giving the new rookie quarterback that you should be drafting if you're the Giants. It wouldn't surprise me if they just don't take a quarterback at all this year at all anyway.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me either at this point.
Because before the trade happened, apparently some sources within the Giants organization were saying, hey, we're not going to take Haskins at 6, and we're not going to take a quarterback. Like, we're not even going to draft a quarterback. We're going to draft, like, best player, which is, I mean, like I said, I'm celebrating with this news.
Yeah, I
But if
mean,
you're a Giants
he's
fan,
out of your
you are
division.
pissed.
Yeah, I mean, I would be mad if I'm a Giants fan, but I mean, you can't just bite your nose to spite your face at this point. You're not, you made a mistake last year in the draft. I mean, obviously, in a quarterback filled draft and you had the second overall pick, you went with a running back.
You see, I didn't think that they made a mistake in the draft because they were able to keep Barkley and Odell. And then you would come in with the ideal situation of bringing in another rookie quarterback that you really like. Before this trade, I thought, you know what? Maybe it's not a bad idea. But now that Odell's gone and now that you have only Barkley as your one real playmaker, yeah, that doesn't look too good now. It looked better before the trade.
Yeah, I mean, now they really have to just try to fix their mistakes that they've made. I mean, not drafting a quarterback in that huge quarterback draft with you couldn't get Baker because he was number one, but you had Darnold that they were gonna that I believe they said that was gonna be their pick if they went uh if whatever Saquon went first. I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah, Saquon went first.
But you had Darnold, then you had Rosen, you still had Josh Allen if you thought that. You still had the guy in Baltimore that I can't think of his name. Lamar Jackson, that's his name.
Jackson.
I mean, there was a big quarterback draft, and now you're trying to get it with a lesser field. I mean, maybe they like the guy out in Oregon. Or
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, he's still going to be there next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be available next year, but that's a big if because teams could go down with.
Yeah,
I mean, the Giants could win a couple games this year somehow and take themselves out of the running for Justin Herbert. And Tua is going to be available also, which, I mean, maybe if you like him.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not a big fan of Alabama quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is you have to really decide if you want a rookie quarterback to sit behind a seasoned veteran like Eli for a year, because there's no guarantee that Eli's in the last year of his deal now. There's no guarantee that Eli is going to sign a 1-year contract at the end of this season to come back and mentor another guy. He could just retire. So then you have a rookie quarterback with no real vet to mentor him.
Yeah,
and then you implode.
Yeah, I think you have like a verbal contract basically saying, Eli, we're going to keep you on this team for 2019, but you have to say that you'll mentor our quarterback that we take. I think that's in the works.
Well, that's happening now. Like he's playing this year. So you have to. So what I'm saying is that's already guaranteed. You don't want to take that risk of not drafting a quarterback now, and then suddenly everything implodes. To me, it just feels like there's so many more ways that this could go wrong than it can go right.
I mean, I don't disagree with you on that. But let's jump to the Brown side of this, because that's where the more exciting part is.
Definitely.
I mean, you have Baker Mayfield, who just won Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
You have him with Odell Beckham. He still has Jarvis Landry, who I think is going to be incredible this year now, being a number 2 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be basically, I mean, they still have Chubb. They have Kareem Hunt if he's going to be available.
Yeah, I mean, most people are even forgetting about Kareem Hunt being a Brown, but the Browns are. I'm going to come right out and say it. They are the most high-powered offense right now in all of football. You have 2 top 10, probably top 10, top 15, depending on where you put Landry, wide receivers, a good young quarterback that is your franchise quarterback going forward, just based off of what you saw last year, because he's given more hope to the Browns than any other quarterback that they've ever drafted has in the past decade.
Yeah.
And then
they're going to be fun.
Yeah, and then you have Hunt, who's dynamic and electric and a great playmaker, and Brad and Nick Chubb. I mean, it's a win-win for the Browns.
Yeah, I mean
And
they
all you
have.
had to give up was Jabril Peppers and
Yeah,
one of your 2 third-round picks.
yeah. I mean, there was some stat that I read that Baker throws like a touchdown on slant routes a lot, like 14% of the time. That might be a totally incorrect number,
Yeah.
but and that's Odell Beckham's best route.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's gonna be great. They're gonna have a very good offense, and I mean they got Olivier Vernon on defense now. They've
Yeah,
got
you just honestly really hope that Olivier Vernon on defense can be what the Giants hoped he would be, because he never lived up to that real hype or that big contract that he got from the Giants.
yeah, but I mean if they have a good, okay to good defense, I mean
Yeah.
they're the favorites to win the North this year now, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, I could definitely say it.
I mean you have Baltimore, who's still up there. I mean they made the playoffs last year. Pittsburgh is kind of in a weird move right now. With they don't have Le'Veon Bell now for not just this season. They got rid of Antonio Brown, and the Bengals are the Bengals. I mean they haven't made any moves, and they've just been mediocre.
Yeah, they've been stagnant for the past couple of years. But one player that I really think is going to thrive in the Browns offense now is Callaway. Because Callaway is fast, and if you have Jarvis Landry on one on the outside on one side and Odell on the outside on the other side, you're not going to double team the slot guy in Antonio Callaway. He's going to burn your linebackers or your nickel cornerbacks and absolutely just demolish you. So, I mean, I feel bad for anybody that has to play the Browns.
Yeah, I mean I'm just trying to find some. It was a bunch of tweets I saw with their roster, their offensive roster. Here, this is kind of what I was looking for. So I mean they have Baker, they have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, Duke Johnson at running back.
Yeah.
They have Beckham and Landry and Galloway that you mentioned. And they have I'm totally gonna mess up his pronunciation. Tight end. They have David Njoku.
Yeah, David Njoku.
Oh, look at me. I should just read dictionaries all day and learn pronunciations. But I mean they have a very good offense. I mean, I'm not ready to say they're better than the Chiefs offense.
I
But
mean, I think they are.
but I mean they took a really big piece from the Chiefs and Kareem Hunt. And I mean that's all depending if Kareem Hunt gets off of the commissioner's list and all that.
True. True.
But I mean, just Nick Chubb being your number one guy at running back, I mean that's still a really good team. And the Browns really clicked with Kitchens there,
Yeah.
and now he's the head coach. I think the Browns are going to be a really big team. They took a really big step.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. They took a huge step forward. I mean, if they don't win the division, they're probably a wild card team, and the only team that I think could really compete with the Browns this year in their division is maybe Baltimore. And that's if their defense can hold up and win them some games like it helped last year. So, I mean, just looking at it, I mean, this is the new era of the Browns. If you're a Browns fan, like, congratulations. This is what you've earned. Like, you've earned this.
Yeah,
Going through all those years of torture and 0-16, like two seasons ago.
yeah. I mean, and the oldest players on that offense right now is Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry, and they're 26. So they have a
Yeah, I mean,
great young core.
yeah, and you have them for the next couple of years. So, like, they are in win now mode, and they still have the draft to fill any holes that they really need to. If they have any questions about their defensive line, maybe they can grab somebody in maybe the second round, because this is a very, very deep defensive line defensive line draft class.
Oh, totally. Is there anything else you want to say in closing?
No, not really. So we will hopefully have a new episode recording tomorrow night, where we'll talk more about this along with some of the other big moves in free agency once they happen tomorrow, because the new league year officially opens up at 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be sure to talk about everything big. We'll touch up on this again. Talk about Deshaun Jackson to the Eagles, Mosley to the Jets. Talk about all the big ones. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't already, leave a like on this. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to try to put a lot more content on here, including these random live videos that we're going to do every once in a while when something big happens. That's not going to be on a day we're recording. So
Yeah.
make sure to do that. Follow us on Twitter at Long Islander Pod.
And also on Instagram, we're going to start posting on there more, I promise. And our Facebook page, The Long Islander Podcast. So just give us a like, a follow. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and pretty much everywhere. So please subscribe and rate us 5 stars. Would really mean a lot to us. And can't wait to talk more about this.